What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Resource Creator Starter Kit. What is this? What is this session about? Well, hopefully you've read the description, but if not, I'll kind of summarize it for you and how we're going to do today. I think that one of the things that I love doing and that I've found over the past couple of years that has been something that I've leaned into is creating resources that add value to educators. Okay, so teachers, administrators, pretty much anybody that I think can benefit. And here's my thing. I want to save people time. That's one of my key things. So everything I do, I'm trying to help teachers, whether they don't have to look for and find it, or they can save them time in their classroom, help them be organized. Okay, we're going to get into that. But the idea for today's session is that we go through different resources, thought process in creating those resources, and how you can get in the habit of creating valuable resources for other educators, whether it's for yourself, your team, your school, or people around the world. So the way this is going to roll, this first section, I'm going to kind of give you some tips on mindset, and then I'm going to go through a bunch of resources. I'm just going to go through resources, give you some thought process, why I'm doing certain things, why I did certain things, things I would do different had I known what I know now. And then after that, I've got my friend Nadine Gilkison. She is a resource creator extraordinaire. She makes some of the most incredible resources I've seen for educators, and they're on the internet, they're everywhere there. She is phenomenal, much better than me. It's not a competition. If it was, she would win, but I would gladly ride her coattails. She makes some incredible resources. She's got a session she's going to do where she talks through how educators can make meaningful resources. And so she's going to do that. And then after that, I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough. I say quick walkthrough. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to walk through two of my favorite platforms and how those would mesh together. And that's where we go from creating a lesson plan in Canva and importing it into Google Slides so that we can create a resource for ourselves or for other educators around the world. So to get started, I'm going to give you some thought processes as you look at creating resources. One of the key factors that I've found when creating resources where it adds value to people is whenever it is something that saves people time. As educators, whenever I was a teacher and when I was an administrator, it's like it feels so often like you will get resources like thrown at you. You'll get, or not resources, you'll get like assignments or things to do, or like, hey, you got to learn this new program, or you add this into your lesson. You've got to do this now. You get things added at you all the time. And you're like, this is going to take an extra 20 minutes a day or 2 hours a week or 30 minutes here. But it's never like you were just chilling and you were like, oh, it's cool. I had like 2 hours a day. I was just like hanging out. So this will be great. I can add this in. And too often we don't take things off of our plate. So when I do trainings on Google, when I work with schools, when I'm consulting, I always do my best to think, how can we, one, get rid of stuff that we don't need? How can we get rid of that? How can we get that off of our plate? If we're like, this isn't required by the department or required by the board, this is not required. Next question is it helpful? Is it adding value to ourselves and our teaching or to our students or our community? If it's not required and it's not adding value, drop that mug. Now, if it is required, like you have to do it because it's your job, or if it is helpful for students, how can we make that more efficient? And so whenever I'm trying to come up with resources to create, whenever I'm like, hey, I want to make this template or this digital interactive notebook or this online journal, whatever it is I'm trying to create, I try to think to myself, what is something that I wish I had when I was in the classroom or when I was an administrator or when I was a student? What's something I wish I would have had that would help me be more efficient or more organized, or just save me time and money whenever I'm doing this? So whenever I'm creating resources, the first thing I think is, okay, what is something I would like to have? That's my first thing. Like, what is something I would have liked to have in the classroom? And I'm going to talk through some of that when we go through some of these. But the bell ringer one, that was a big one for me. I was using like these old ACT Aspire, like released items, and I'm rolling in and I'm just like, okay, next question, I write it on the board. I would rather have somebody like explaining to them on video how to do the problem as they worked it with them. That is teaching built in while I do all my admin stuff. So me creating that resource came out of the fact that like, this is something I wish I had. when I was teaching. And so I try to think through that process. How could it save me time or enhance the learning? And I feel like that resource is a perfect model of something that did both. It saved me that time at the beginning so I could take roles, send emails, follow up with students that missed school. And then also it did the thing of actually like teaching them lessons while we're teaching the class. So that was the thought process. How can you be more efficient and how can you expand the learning in your classroom? Another thing that you can do is whenever you're making these resources, whenever I make a resource, if I'm like kind of run out of ideas, I'm like, I don't know what to make. One, I'll ask people on like TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, I'll be like, hey, what resource do you guys need? So like whenever it was like last summer, I had made a couple resources and I put a TikTok out there and I was like, hey, I want to make some more resources. What do you guys need? And a bunch of people said digital interactive notebooks. And I'm thinking to myself like, okay, I know what all three of those words mean individually, but I'm not sure what they mean all together. So I did a little bit of research. I Googled some stuff, found some things. I was like, okay, I've got an idea of something I could build off of this, something I could create out of this, like in this world. And that's what I created. And I've really enjoyed making those templates for journals and interactive notebooks. And it's like essentially like a digital packet. And honestly, I had not put respect on the name of Google Slides like I should have. I thought Google Slides, like, okay, it's just like a watered down PowerPoint that you can access anywhere. Oh, how wrong I was, because Google Slides is actually like one of the top 3 GOAT tools. Like if you got like, if we're talking GOATs, we're talking like Jordan, LeBron, and Kareem. That's got to be Google Forms. It's got to be Google Slides, and it's got to be Google Classroom. Like those 3 are the GOATs when it comes to, Google Workspace for Education programs. Okay, so forgot what I was saying out of that. Why did I bring that up? The digital interactive notebooks and using Google Slides. So like that program I learned just by asking, crowdsourcing, like, what do you guys need? I'll start making that resource for you. And here's another one, and I don't know if like I'm allowed to say this, but honestly, I'll just roll over to Teachers Pay Teachers and I'll look and see what's popular. Because usually if something's trending or something's doing well, it means the teachers need it. And I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, well, I could go in and I could find this resource and, teachers could pay $2 or $10 or $20 for it. Or I could spend, 1 or 2 or 6 or 12 hours, or in the case of Rock the Quote, like, 80 or 90 hours. I could go in and spend that time creating that resource and then giving it to teachers for free. Okay. And so now I'm not saying that whenever you create resources, you have to offer it for free. Absolutely not saying that. Like, I don't look down on anybody that sticks something on Teachers Pay Teachers. Like, I have a few resources of mine. Like, I've got a library of resources I'm going to show you and walk through. But a few of those resources are on Teachers Pay Teachers. They get it for free on my website, or they can pay on Teachers Pay Teachers. Now, I stuck them up there, and I honestly, I want to put like all of mine up there, but it's just time consuming. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to create the next resource when I should put it up there. But here's the deal. If you're like doing this and you're like, you know what, I made this resource or I built this lesson plan. I know facilitators that have worked with me that built this incredible lesson plan. And they were like, hey, can I put this on TPT and make some money on the side? I was like, absolutely, you can. Like, as long as it doesn't break the policies for your school and those overlap and your administrator is okay with it, then I say go for it. And I encourage my teachers. I'm like, yes, if you're going to go out of your way, because here's the deal. If they go out and they make a great, curriculum map for, 3rd grade or whatever it is, why would I not want to add that value to other educators around the world? And if it can help get my teachers side money for what they're already creating, why would I not encourage that? That was my perspective as an administrator. Not everybody's on board with that. I get there's reasons, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're good reasons, but then again, I'm not their boss, so I can't tell them what to do. I'm not their boss yet. I'm just kidding. Not their boss. So whenever you're creating them, obviously check if it's something you're doing on your work time, make sure that your administrator or your boss is okay with it. However, whenever you're creating these things, don't feel bad if you're putting it up for money. Your time is worth money. Okay. And so I'm just going to tell you my personal journey with this, my thought process. And you decide and pick what you're wanting to do. You're here for a reason. You're here because you either want to create resources for yourself, your team, or you want to create resources to put out there for free or to put out there to make side money, which is super helpful to like go on vacations or buy things for Christmas. Like, how many of us as educators, do side jobs? I shot over 80 weddings outside of working in education because we needed the side money because my wife wanted to stay home with our kids. So it's like we all have our own reasons for doing this. I tutored after school back before the No Child Left Behind money ran out, and did that after school, and then I did that like 4 days a week from like 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. after I got done teaching. Like, you do that stuff. Why not be able to make money with the stuff you're spending your time creating? And so like anybody that looks down on that, you just gotta honestly just ignore the haters. Is that something? Do we still say that? Haters. I'm sorry. That's my best Kanye impression. Haters. He doesn't talk like that. I don't know why I said he does. But here's the deal. You just do what you feel comfortable with and you put it out there. And here's the deal. The market's going to decide. Like if you make something and you charge a certain amount of money for it and nobody buys it, either one, nobody knows it exists, or two, it's overpriced. My personal journey with this is whenever I started creating YouTube videos back in like 2007 or 8, and I'm putting up like full geometry lessons, math stuff. When I became a principal, I would put out on video or on Twitter, I'd be like, hey, if you're a student and you want help with math, hit me up, screenshot the picture or take a picture with your phone, put it on Twitter, which is a public forum. So they're not sending me pictures behind the scenes. That'd be weird. And so they're putting it out there in a public forum. They're sending me the problem. I uploaded it into Explain Everything. It was an app on my iPad. I would upload after work was over and I'm done for the day. I had like a long drive home. It was like an hour and 10 minutes where we lived from where I worked. And so I would import into Explain Everything their question. I would hit record. I would work the problem. And then I would export it. And while I'm driving home, I would have it rendering and uploading into YouTube. And I'm putting those resources out for students. Well, a few years later, fast forward a little bit, and I started putting out resources for teachers. And here's the deal. Personally, I always felt bad charging money for any of that stuff. So I'm like, hey, I just want to help educators. I want to help teachers. A couple of them I was doing in the course of my job, like I'm making this for my teachers or I'm making this for my school or whoever. And other times it was stuff that I created for them. And then a couple years later, I'm like, hey, this might help other people. So I make like a generic version and I put it out there. I did that with my curriculum app, which hopefully I'll show you in a second if I ever stop talking. And so whenever you are making these, or whenever I was making those resources, I'm putting them out for free. Now, currently I still put all of my resources out for free. Now, I heard somebody talk about this on TikTok the other day, and they were charging like $1.50 for something that was like a super awesome resource. And they were like, you know what? I learned because I think she had a graphic design degree, and she learned in school, like my time is valuable to me. That's worth money to me. And so it's like, I'm sitting here thinking like, I've got these resources and I want to provide them to teachers. And I was like, but it would be super cool if I was able to like make side money doing this, because then I could film less weddings on the side, which gives me more time to make more resources for teachers. So do you get the dynamic there? Like sometimes, like if you're working a side gig, like my mom, she sold watches at Dillard's for like 3 months leading up to Christmas, like every year when I was growing up, so she could make side money to buy us Christmas presents. Okay. And she was a teacher. And so it's like, if we can make that side money, that frees us up to make more resources to provide more things for educators, whether they're free or paid. And so the way I did it, like I'll tell you mine, like, because I'm still trying to figure this out. And if you have any thoughts or ideas, throw them in the chat. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Be kind. That's rule number one. Be kind to people, because some people might want to charge, some people might want to be free. I've found a combination of both that I think is a good balance to where I can still add a lot of value to people for free. However, there's opportunity if people see the value in it, where I can make money from it to help me create more resources and do more for educators. And so the way I've got it set up, and you can use this idea, if you got any questions, throw it in the chat. Would love to see them. And so what I did was, and I'll show you my website. So let me pop the link up real quick, and I'm going to walk you through, and then we're actually going to do a walkthrough of the resources. Okay. So I'm going to put this on the screen so you can see what that looks like. tarveracademy.com/resources. Okay. So you go here, it's a website, and I'll show you all the stuff that's free. And then I'll show you my thought process on what I like have is like, they call it like a paywall, like you pay the pay to play paywall, whatever they call it. This is where like you step in and you're like, okay, cool. I'm willing to pay money to learn that skill set. So let me show you. So here we go. So this is tarveracademy.com/resources. So right here, this is my Google Teacher cheat sheet, Google Student cheat sheet, and Remote Learning cheat sheet for parents. These are all free. You click these, you can either view my copy or create your own copy. And I tell teachers, I tell them, if you've been with me in any of the summer PD, if you've been with me in any of the PDs I've done in person at schools or trainings, I tell teachers, I was like, look, take my resources, make a copy, delete my name if you want to. Make sure you subscribe. That'd be cool. But delete my name if you want to. Make it your resource. You can add value. You can use my presentation, make a copy, and put it out there for your educators. Okay. So I try to explain here my thought process on what I'm doing, and I'll show you here in a second. So here is like, these are my three main ones. I put those up here with photos, but down here, these are all of my resources. So everything over here on the left, you see like digital interactive notebooks, you got lesson plans, team meeting agendas, all this stuff right here are free resources. If you click on that or anybody clicks on that, it's going to request them to make a copy, and then they have that. They have that template that they can edit and change and make theirs. I don't have access to it. Now, my thought process on what I can like essentially, make money from this, because a lot of these resources, a lot of these things cost, almost everything on here, or I say that, literally everything on here, if it's created, it's on TPT. Like somebody's probably making a version of this on Teachers Pay Teachers. Now, I will say this is not cool. I've heard of people that will take free resources that educators make, like myself. I think Nadine's had it happen to her. A couple people, they'll make free resources. Other people will go in, make a copy, delete that person's name off of it, and sell it. That, honestly, that's not cool. Okay, that's borderline like theft, right? Because it's like their intellectual property. Now, granted, you can take an idea. I think I'm not the like expert on copyright, but you can take an idea and you can go in and you can like create your own version of that, and you can take your own version of that, and then you can like build a resource similar. I think that's okay because you're creating the resource. But if you make a copy and then you just like change the name, that's tu es muy no bueno, in my opinion. But again, I'm not the police. But I always tell people, make a copy and you can take my name off and use it for your school or for people or when you're presenting. So here we go. So these are all like resources that I've created that are completely free to educators. Okay. They're completely free to educators to make a copy and use. Now, where my thought process was like, what value can I add outside of this so that people would actually pay money and do? And so one of the things, I've got two. Okay. So I started out doing a Patreon. Does anybody in the chat, have you ever heard of Patreon? And then if you have heard of Patreon, are there any Patreons that you actually pay money to? So I'll show you two Patreons. So the first one, I'll show you my friend Retro Rick, and then I'll show you mine. So Patreon Retro Rick. Okay. So my friend Rick Hutchinson, he has a YouTube channel called Retro Rick. It's where he takes like 80s and 90s like retro gaming stuff, and he goes in and he like makes videos and puts them on YouTube. Well, he was like, this is great, and I'm spending a ton of extra time in my spare time creating this stuff. How can I make money out of this so that it helps my family? My wife started staying home. We just had another kid. And what he did was he is creating 80s and 90s nostalgia videos. Now, his videos are free to watch on YouTube. Now, what he does is he essentially, if you want to join his club or his membership, it's almost like a country club, if you will. If you want to join his membership, you would go in and pay $3 a month. And with that, you get like 20% off anything that he sells in his Instagram store. You get to help choose the topics of videos. You get like certain materials for buying and reselling to work on your side hustle. So like he's got a spreadsheet of popular like DVDs and video games where people that are going to like Goodwill or yard sales can buy them and flip them and make some money. And then on there, he'll have like all these videos. So like here's his trailer video. And then these are all things that you can unlock by joining. And $3 a month is not bad if this is something you're into. Now, granted, we're all educators. So, and I don't know of a ton of educators that are doing this. If they are, cool, great, more power to them. Throw in the chat if you know any educators that are doing Patreons. I've got one. I'm not saying you should go do it, but I'll show you if you want to take a look at it. It's patreon.com/Tyler Tarver. And my thought process from this was all of these resources are free to use for your classroom. What I've also created and spent time doing outside of actually making them, I went in and made walkthroughs on how to use them. Okay. So it's like on TikTok, if I go and I'm like, hey, you want these digital interactive notebooks? You can do this, this, and this, blah, blah, blah. It's like a minute or less. It's pretty quick. It's pretty rapid fire when it comes to explaining that resource. Well, this walkthrough is either a walkthrough of how to use it. Like, hey, I would take this. I would go into Google Classroom. I would do this. I would do this. It's like a step-by-step walkthrough for teachers on how to implement this into their classroom. Now, not every teacher needs that, so they could just make a copy for free. And then if they wanted those resources, they could do it. Now, also, I've started creating walkthroughs of how to create some of these resources. So I told you, like, I've got a session, then Nadine's got a session. And at the end, I'm going to do a full walkthrough on creating a resource starting in Canva and then getting it into Google Slides. That video is a resource that usually costs money that somebody can watch either on my Patreon or what I call on my honor roll. Okay. So this is, think through to yourself, how would I create this? What service could I offer where people would pay money for me to create these resources? Or again, if you're going to do free, that's fine. But I'm walking through for people that would want to make money. So you can list them individually on Teachers Pay Teachers. And if somebody finds it, they can buy it and you can make money from it. Now, here's the thing, the issue I always have, not an issue, but a thought process from one entrepreneur to another. Whenever you rely on a website like Teachers Pay Teachers or YouTube or TikTok or anything like that, when you're relying on these other places and essentially relying on the algorithm or that company, one, they're going to take a chunk of that money, which is fine. That's understand they're providing a service or a framework or whatever. But the big thing is you don't control their algorithm. So you might have a resource on Teachers Pay Teachers that pops off one month and you get like a ton of attention and you get it downloaded, it's downloaded 10,000 times in 1 month. And you're like, oh my goodness, yes. And then you're like, okay, cool. We can plan on this. Within the next month, it might not pop to the top or might not be as relevant. And TPT, Teachers Pay Teachers, might not push it. And then you drops and you sell 3 of them. You don't control them. So whenever you're creating something like this, where it's a membership, either through, Patreon or Squarespace or whatever you're creating your membership through, you get to control that. Like if that audience finds you and you push them there, then you have them as long as they see what you're offering is valuable and worth the value they're putting into it. So this one, so I've got 2 levels for this. And this, again, this is not a pitch for you to hit up my Patreon, okay? I'm showing you this so that you can think through what value can I add for people as I create resources if you do want to make money out of it. So for $3 a month, that means they get access to this directory I made. It's like this big spreadsheet of all of these tutorials and resources where people can use it in a spreadsheet. They get access to all the virtual summer PD, which is what you're watching right now. They get resources and templates for their classroom. PD, like pretty much anything I create, whether I'm doing it in person or recording on here, I'll put on here for them to watch. Now, for $7, that's the Google training track. They get actually more in-depth videos where we go through, like 1 month, we learned a bunch of stuff in depth on Google Slides. 1 month, we went in on Google Forms. It's like we're really leaning into, like, I want to learn how to create these resources. I want to learn how to use this platform. So it's like an in-depth training that I do weekly for them. Okay. So that's the idea. So if you're taking notes, if you're thinking through, like, what is something I can offer to people, either free or paid or a combination of both, think through what is the value of that to someone else to where they would click and purchase. Okay. Now, this is where I think I've got like 65 people on here, which is really cool. Like, those people, I respect that community. I love that community. And I try to provide them value every single week because these people are paying money. And I respect that because here's the deal. I've made so many free resources for so long and had zero attention, to where the fact that I am extremely humbled and honored when somebody's willing to put $3 a month towards something that I made or produced. That has an extreme amount of respect with me, and I don't want to take advantage of that. So whatever you do, if you're asking people for money, don't think you deserve it or they owe it to you or whatever, just because you put whatever in. Respect that people have chosen to put a portion of their finances your way because of something you're offering, okay? And I think that's just a personal attitude I have. I'm grateful and humble about it, and I think that most of us should have that. And I think that honestly, as educators, I think most of us are. If you're willing to put time and effort into creating free or paid resources for people, you have the heart of like, hey, I want to help people. but also you value your time. Okay. So that's one way you can try to make money out of it. You can go to Teachers Pay Teachers and upload them as individual downloads that people pay for, or you can do Patreon. Now I'm going to show you the other one that I utilize. So here is, my website provider, if you've heard of Squarespace, I think they sponsor the New York Knicks. So Squarespace is my website. It's what I host my website through. They have a feature built in where you can actually like sell things through your website. So I pay like an extra amount of a year to the website to where I can have stuff like this. So if you signed up for the premium trainings, if you're in a premium training right now, you get access to all that. You bought it through here. Now I'm offering a third of all these trainings for free throughout the summer. So I'm still providing free value to people if they're willing to work their schedule around it. But then I also offer triple that if they bought in for $38. Now, I thought this was pretty fair because it's like $38 gets you, 120 trainings. I mean, think of how much you pay if you went to a PD. It feels like that was pretty fair. And that's Tyler's opinion, but who cares what Tyler thinks? It matters if people are willing to pay for it. So it allows me to sell things from mine. So essentially I can create a Teachers Pay Teachers on my website. As you can tell, I've only got 2 out of my like 50 resources on here because I just stick them out for free and then I move on to the next thing. I need to put them on here because, and here's the deal, somebody could pay for this or they can go download it for free. What they get if they pay for it is they get the video walkthrough. So it's like, I don't want to subscribe monthly to your Patreon or your honor roll. I'm going to go in and do this. Okay. So you're going to go in and you can create these to where people can look at it and say, oh, that's worth, that digital baller lesson plan, weekly lesson plan is worth $2 to me. I'll purchase that for $2. Okay. So that's one. Here's the one that I've been leaning into. So if you've been to any of my PDs, I made like one of the breaks is a commercial for this. I think I'd have to, hold on. Let me switch out and share a different screen. So I'm going to swap that. Hey, what's up guys? I'm a lot larger than real life. Okay. That's larger than real life. That's not, I was trying to think of the Backstreet Boys song in the chat. What is the greatest Backstreet Boys song ever made? There actually is a correct answer here. So tell me what it is. Okay. So I'm about to show you the other one, and then we're going to go through and do kind of a rapid fire on all the resources because I feel like I've covered a lot of like what you can do with the resources you're creating. Then I want to talk through actually doing those resources. So let me do this. Let me share my screen. Actually, remove this screen. Remove, stop that. All right, share screen. Okay, so this is the one I've kind of leaned into, and this is the one, if you've seen this, there's been a commercial, like, let's say commercial. It's like me talking about this and seeing if it would correlate with what value you want. And so if you're serious about creating resources, if you're serious about like, hey, I have a service or training, a resource, something to offer people, and I think it's valuable enough for people to pay for, I highly recommend you get a Square, and I don't work for Squarespace. They're not paying me. I know they sponsor a lot of people. Who want to sponsor me, Squarespace, I accept, but I'm not on there. I highly recommend you start a Squarespace website of what you have, and then I recommend that you create some sort of membership on there. And so what I've got is, this is kind of like my honor roll. Pretty much, this is all access to every training, every walkthrough, everything that I've created goes into this honor roll. And I'll click the link if you're interested, if you want to. No big deal. Follow your heart, whatever. You do whatever. I'm not, again, this is not just like, oh, it's just one big ad for his honor roll. No, it's not. I'm walking you through what you could create so you can think of ideas. Okay, so chill. All right. So I'm kidding. I came in very aggressive. I'm not being aggressive, I promise. I think you're great. Oh, I see in the chat, the correct answer for the best Backstreet Boys song ever made is Everybody. And that's absolutely correct. Everybody, yeah. A lot of people might not believe this, but I've never had professional training when it comes to singing. I know you have the voice of an angel and people are like, what? You trained for years? Absolutely not. It's natural. Okay. So if you go to tarveracademy.com/honor roll, this is my membership. So what I did was I set it up to where it's like a yearly membership for people. And here's what that looks like. Okay. Again, guy that creates 99% of what I create is free, completely free to people. For that 1% though, that want to go on and learn and have access to stuff, I put in this honor roll. And whenever I'm sitting here thinking like, what could I do, or how could I want to offer for free, but then how would I create these resources and do something to where I can not have to film, 30 weddings a year? created this. So under here, these people get access to all of my all of my summer trainings, like all 120 sessions. They click here and they get the calendar to go to all of it. Okay. So they get access to all of it. So you're thinking, well, then you could have just bought the premium for $38 and you're good to go. Why would I pay? I think it's at $92 a year is what it costs for my honor roll. And my reasoning for doing yearly is because I worked in education, a lot of districts, if you see like something that can be valuable to your teaching, a lot of times your district will reimburse you for it. And so my thought was, instead of districts, they're not going to sign up for something monthly very often. Now I have had a few buildings and districts sign up to get this for their whole building. And that's just something I work out with them. And then I give them access to it all year for their whole building. But the idea is that one teacher could come in, they pay $92 and they get access to all of my summer trainings. Not only when they roll live, like you're watching this possibly, or maybe you're watching pre-recorded and you're on the honor roll. What's up, player? How you living? Then also at the end of the week, every week, I'm putting links to where people can click and watch any of my sessions on demand. So these are all rolling live. Now, if people are like, hey, I would like to go there and walk through this or maybe use it with my students or go through with my teachers or whatever, they can sign up for the honor roll and then they can watch, pause, replay. They can go back through as much as they want through the trainings that I'm doing this summer. So they get access to all of them as they roll live. They get access to them all year long. So anytime, it's like, have you ever heard of like masterclass? Like where you learn film from Martin Scorsese or learn how to shoot from Steph Curry. That's what this is. Essentially, it's like access to master classes for all these trainings for teachers, okay? Then from September until the end of May, every week, I email out here's an example. So I send this email. I did this for the end of the year for my honor roll. So they get weekly emails delivered to them. So it's like I go and take even more time creating this email specifically for these people that sign up for my honor roll. And so I'm going to send it out. It's going to have this on it. I'm going to make like a few fun comments. I always put a teacher education meme in here. Then I say, welcome back to the honor roll. Then I give them like either a template or a training or a resource, some sort of resource that can help them. This one, I did end of year course evaluation, Google Forms, gave them that form. I explain it in a fun way. I think it's fun. Then I give them very clear instructions on how to use that for their classes. Then I always do like 5 quick tips. I call them quickity quick flippity tips. I don't know. That's dumb. I probably need to change that title. In the chat, what is a better title for this than what I just called that? Okay. So these are like 5 quick video tips. They're a minute or less. I got a mystery tip, stuff like that. Then here's one of the big ones. They get to actually choose what resources and trainings and things that I create. So it's like, that's common with a lot of creators that make stuff for free, but then they have like memberships. So if you're creating stuff for free, you're creating resources. One way you could offer a value to other people is saying like, hey, you can give suggestions and I'll put your ideas first. You get to choose what resource I make. So it's like, I could join the honor roll. I'm getting all this stuff. And then also I'm like, hey, I need a daily student reflection journal. You could go in and you could suggest that. And then I'll probably create it. And I'll put it in the list and create it first before I create anything else. Roll in. And then it just says goodbye. And I say, thanks for being a part of the Tarver Academy honor roll. So they get all the stuff. Like it's like I've compiled literally everything into this. And so it's like you can offer 99% of what you do for free. I've got thousands of free videos on there, but if you want access to this other side of it or this organization, and like I've got also, that's just that one email. Sorry, I didn't finish going through this. And then what I do is I also, like what you just saw with those resources, I put those in here as well. So those are the emails I sent. And then we go mailbag so they can ask the questions from here. And then what I do is I organize all of those templates and walkthroughs. And there's the links to all those walkthroughs. So when you saw those walkthroughs over there on the free page, now they can come here and they can just click in here and watch. Start of the semester stuff, lesson planning, activities, all this stuff. And then they get access to a bunch of other resources I've created and then all these other quick tip trainings. So essentially it's like my kind of tagline I've used recently is Netflix for teachers. So when you're creating it, if you're building this membership, we can talk all that. I think I have a session called like, what is it? What is this? Let's actually click on it and find it. So if you're rolling in and you're like, I want to see, oh, sorry, I clicked back. It's something about creating, like if you want to actually create the stuff for social media, I think is what it is. That's what it is. So, okay. So that's the idea. So think through if you're wanting to just be like, no, I'm just going to make it, put it for free. Cool. Get a website. I recommend if you're going to use it here, if you're just going to put anything link in bio, or if you're going to put it on a website, here's the website I recommend, and it is free. They have paid versions, but the free one's totally fine. I don't see it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Go to bit.ly/Tarver Solo. You can create this. It's like a link in bio, but also, and this is where I like push people to all the time, is, hey, I've got the resource here, link in my bio. What you can do is you can have them email you, text you, all your social media, and then you can organize all of your resources, trainings. Like this is what mine looks like. Super easy to use and super free. You can pay if you're like, oh, I need this feature or this feature, but honestly, the free one's probably gonna work fine. So go check that out, create that. If you're gonna make resources, you need a place to put them. I recommend using Solo. It's better than Linktree. It's better than tap.bio. I've had those before. This is the move. I promise you, use bit.ly/Tarver Solo and sign up for that. Okay? Sweet. So here's a list. These are a lot of my resources too. So if I talk about something, you can go in here under templates or resources and use those resources. Okay? Sweet. We're going to go through on my website if that's okay with you, if you're not going to get upset. But I'm going to go to tarveracademy.com/resources, and we're just going to do kind of a rapid fire talk through of all these resources, how I created them, why, stuff like that. I'm not going to sit there and go like, oh, walkthrough. That would be like a 20-hour video if I'm doing walkthroughs on all this. But I do want to talk through some of these resources and the thought process behind them, and then what you could possibly do to get them out to the world. Okay, so let me switch this in case somebody bounces in. Let's give them a link to where we are right now. Excellent. tarveracademy.com/resources. Okay, so this first one, this resource, this was a fun one to make. So right here, I've got the Google Teachers cheat sheet. When we went and everybody's having, like, the pandemic hit and everybody's having to learn on their own, or not saying learn on their own, they're having to learn on the fly. They haven't used technology. I had the chance to be like super involved with using Google and Drive and all this stuff. Not Google and Drive. Why did I say that? Google and all of the programs inside of Google. I've been using them for several years because we did like an online school, blended learning. I was a principal and I just had to learn it in the process of what I was doing. And so I've been creating Google resources and doing trainings and stuff for years. And then when that hit, I was like, oh goodness, these teachers need help with a lot of this stuff. Now, before I show you that, I want to show you, I'm going to show you what happened before that. Okay, so you ready? So if you go to bit.ly/gtarver, okay, bit.ly/gtarver, it's going to go to what I call is the Google Certified Level 1 Educator cheat sheet. Okay, so this was like the first, I've made videos for years. I've made a couple templates. This was the first like monster resource I made, like one that took me well over like 100+ hours. That's an exaggeration. I'd say, I mean, it was like 3 hours a night, every night for 3 months. I'd say overall for literally making the videos, putting it in here, all this stuff, I mean, it took well over minimum 40 to 50 hours. I'd probably say closer to 70 or 80. I'm literally just guessing. I have no idea. In the chat, how many hours did I spend on this? You can tell me. So here's what I did. I had a resource. There's a resource from a Google trainer named Eric Kurtz. He's fantastic. Okay. Fantastic educator, great resource creator, awesome for teachers. So his name's Eric Kurtz. Eric had a checklist of skills people could use or skills people needed to know if they wanted to be a Google Level 1 certified educator. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, this, and I know Eric, we've made resources or done trainings. I've seen him at conferences, super cool guy. And I'd like admired a lot of his stuff. And I saw this checklist and I'm like, this is incredible. Like this is the checklist. It's all these skills. And he had listed all of these. Well, actually I can show you what it looked like. So this is what it looks like now. I can show you what it looked like when he created it because I made a copy of it and I made a copy of that list. Now, I will tell you this. Anytime you take someone else's resource and you are going to like make an adaptation of it, is that a phrase? Make an adaptation of it. If you're going to adapt someone else's resource and use it as your own, you need to get permission. Okay. That's resource etiquette. So what I did was I made a copy of his checklist, which his checklist looked like this in 2017. He had it on, he still has it on his website. Skill checklist, Google Certified Educator Level 1. He's got a table of contents, and then he listed out all these skills that people need to know to be a certified Level 1 educator. Now, my idea was that's cool, but if I don't, like, say I'm using this checklist and I don't know how to use, let's say I don't know how to create a Google document. What do I do if I want to learn that? So I thought, well, you know what? And I was literally, I'm telling you the process, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I would like to just click on it and have someone teach me how to do it. So I reached out to Eric. I'm going to call him Eric. Like, we're good buds. I do know him. I think he'd be cool if we call him Eric. I mean, I've called him Eric to his face. So yeah. So I reached out to Eric Kurtz and I was like, hey man, this resource, incredible. I love what you've created. Would you be okay with me making a copy of it and putting in links to tutorial videos of how to do these things? And he said yes. If he had said no, I would not have done it. I would have been like, oh, okay, well, I'm doing it anyways. I would have made my own list from my own thought process and tried to build it out. Now, he said yes, of course you can, and I don't even know, he may have asked for credit. I don't even know if he asked for credit in it, but I left, like, right here, videos by me, and then list by Eric Kurtz. So the list is right there. You click it and you go to his website. And I think it's in the footer too. If not, I've taken the footer. Nope, he's in the footer. Me and Eric and I are both in the footer as well, if you want to go check him out. Now, my thought was, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to make videos. And I already had several Google tutorial videos that I'd made for my teachers. So like when I was at central office, if anybody had trouble or needed help with anything Google, instead of me like, okay, what's your prep period? Okay, I'm going to change my meetings around. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to spend 3 minutes showing them a tutorial. I would just say, hey, what do you need to know? Cool. I'd make a video and I'd send it to them. And that created a video out of it. So sometimes whenever I was making, like, I took something from the Department of Ed, I used to be in charge of mentor teachers for our district. And so I think they called project director. So I was project director for mentor teachers at our district. So I oversaw new teachers and their mentor and them meeting and helping out new teachers. They gave me something and I was like, how can we make this more organized? So I'm making it as organized as I could. And then I'm making tutorial videos in case somebody doesn't know how to upload a document or somebody doesn't know how to make a copy of something. I'm making those videos because that's how I would want it to be explained. Every time I'm making a resource or creating something or trying to explain something, I think of that line from The Office. In the chat, who is your favorite Office character? In the chat, who is your favorite Office character? Okay. In The Office, there's a spot where Oscar is trying to explain something to Michael Scott. And Michael Scott hears him explain it. Then he looks at him. He goes, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Okay. I'm not saying educators are the mind of a 5-year-old. Educators are very smart and talented and gifted, and they have bachelor's degrees. So they're very smart all the way around. However, if you jump into something without context or you don't understand what's being said, you're confused and you want to check out. So whenever I'm creating something or when I'm wanting to like walk somebody through something, I want to give tutorials on literally everything I can to help them in the process. Okay. So I was making those videos and I was like, all right, I'm going to start attaching them in here. And so what I did was I just started create like every night from like 8 p.m. to midnight, I'm sitting here recording videos on my computer, and then I'm importing them into Final Cut Pro, and then I'm exporting them, and then I'm uploading them into YouTube. And so I'm sitting here making these videos every night, and you can see my progress. Like this is me working on it. So like, here we go. All right, here's one I did. I was working on it at 11 p.m., June 3rd, 2019. I think I had them all in. Oh, let's go back. Let's go back further. Where we're going, we don't need roads. What is that from? In the chat, what is that from? Where we're going, we don't need roads. So here we are. So my process was, okay, I'm going in and I'm making videos for all this. I'd made all the Google Drive videos. I made all these docs ones. Now, if it was red, that meant that I had recorded it, but I had not uploaded it yet. So I wanted to make sure I didn't like do it again. So you got to figure out your process when you're creating these resources. And I'm going in and I've still got all these to go. So I went in and made tutorial videos for every single one of these instructional things that Eric had. So I took his list, made a copy, edited it to make all these links on there. And then now if somebody's like, oh, I want to pass a level 1 exam, I need to know how to create a Google Doc, they can click this. It goes to a YouTube video here. Now, see how I integrated Google Docs with YouTube? Like you can mash across these different platforms. And here it goes. They have a video and they can just, boom, I'm going to hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit the like button in this video. That'd be nice. Actually, more importantly, hit the red subscribe button. That'd be dope. So this is me going through explaining the video in 3 minutes on how to do that. Okay. So here's the deal, guys. And this is the thought: as you make resources, do not get discouraged. I went in and I created this, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought it took me so much time. And I sit here and thought, this is an incredible, like, this is it. This is an amazing resource that can help educators. I put it out there. Like, I think I put it on Twitter is where I put, because there's a ton of educators on Twitter. And I put it out there and I was like, oh, great, they're going to love it. It got some retweets, but it never, like, it did not take off. People maybe looked at it and then didn't come back. Like, it did not have the legs that I thought it would. I didn't think it was going to, I thought people would love it and it would go crazy and be great. It didn't. It did not have the impact that I thought it would. Don't put all your eggs in one resource basket. Don't be like, I'm going to make this one resource. Okay. I mean, actually, Nadine's got a couple resources that, like, I think everybody used at least 5 times. They're absolutely incredible. And so whenever you are creating these, you put it out there, you give it as much marketing as you can, but keep in mind this. Okay. So I did all these videos back in like 2019, I think, is when I finished this, put it out there, boom, here you go, world. And the world's just like, we're good. Then the pandemic hit and everybody started working on their stuff at, like, from home. Like, they're working remotely, they're working virtual, like they're trying to learn all this stuff like on a whim. And I'm sitting here thinking, I just recorded like 300 plus Google tutorial videos that might help teachers during this time. However, I said, hey guys, here's the skill checklist. Sometimes it's not about the resource you made, it's about the package you're putting it in. So let me show you something right here. I took this, and this is a lot of videos. Well, more the better. Sometimes we need to simplify those resources. And what I did was I took that and I repackaged it into a Google cheat sheet for teachers. When I made this resource and put it out there, it's not like I had to go in, like, all these links, all these blue words are tutorial videos. Guess what? I made them a year before the pandemic. And all I'm doing now is bringing out the ones that are the most important, and I'm tossing them in like, okay, here's some stuff for Google Classroom you're probably going to hit trouble with. Docs, sheets, slides, forms, Meet. I'm going in and I'm like, I've already got all this stuff. I've already created the content. I just need to figure out how to package it so that it can help teachers the most. And again, teachers like it to be simple and clear so they're not confused. Look at this. This is not that other sheet was like 8 pages. It was kind of overwhelming. Here, it's just like, oh, picture, Google Classroom, click, go. YouTube, boom. Here's also Nadine and Eric. I put both of them in there. Here's the deal too. If you're kind with your resources, Nadine and Eric are some of the most kind, helpful people that I know in education on the internet. And so what am I going to do when I'm making this? I'm definitely going to push their stuff. People remember the people that are out there for themselves and the people that are out there to help people. And so I hope that I'm resonating that, like, this list. I know both Nadine and Eric. I was in the Google Innovator thing with Nadine. So I met her through that. She's fantastic. I got the chance to, like, say, oh, this is a great person that's doing great things. I'm going to promote her every chance I get. Eric, super cool. Whenever all he did was say, sure, man, use my resource. And now I'm literally promoted him today. I will continue to promote him for as long as I can, and I'll talk about him. Yay Math. I've met this dude. He has a math YouTube channel. I could easily be jealous that he's got way more subs than me. But you know what? I connected with him. We talked on the phone about, like, education, entrepreneurship, YouTube for a while. Love this dude. Great guy, super kind and helpful. I would love to do more stuff with him. I'm going to promote him. As you're in the process of creating and doing, do not get in a silo where you're like, oh, I'm just going to create this and I need to push people to my stuff. Y'all don't look at their stuff. Like, Nadine and Eric have resources that if you like that, you don't need my resource. Guess what? Cool. If they helped you, that's my goal. There was an entrepreneur. There's a guy that said it this way. If you want to build the biggest building in town, there's 2 ways to build it. Either you can help build it and just make it as tall as you can and not worry about the other buildings growing up around you, or you can try to tear down every building around you and just be the one left standing. I highly recommend trying to build up and empower those around you. I've met Tyler DeWitt. I've met, let's see who else. I think there's other math guys. I've met Patrick JMT. These people I'm promoting. Mr. DeMayo, super great dude. My kids love his videos. I'm going to promote him every chance I get. Then these resources, these were things, some of them I'd already created, some of them added since. These are full trainings. I had already done this stuff and put it out there for nobody. And then I put it in this. Now, here's the deal. Even just putting it in this didn't get it out there. It didn't market it out to the world. But I'd been pushing it out on YouTube. I'd pushed it out on Twitter, and it never really popped off. Then I got on an amazing little app called TikTok. Shout out TikTok. TikTok. If you're on TikTok, in the chat, let me know your TikTok handle. Okay. I would love to see your TikTok handle. Throw it in the chat. Here's the deal. TikTok has an algorithm where it helps you find communities. I'm sitting there and I was making just dumb videos about me, like pretending to dunk a basketball, but really falling into a swimming pool. Okay. That was just doing that for fun because I thought that's what you're supposed to do on TikTok. I did not know there are these communities based on different interests. And there's an incredible Teachers of TikTok community. And so I get on there and I see a couple tutorial videos like, oh, cool. I'll promote this Google Teacher cheat sheet. I toss it on there and it got like, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but I got like a couple, like 100,000 or 200,000 views on this resource, and people are clicking my link in my bio, and it's helping teachers for free. That's what essentially kickstarted. Like, I had years of creating resources where barely anybody paid attention except for people I'm like visiting in person. I'm like, hey, here's this resource. Here's this, here's this. It just takes the right moment and the right community and the right algorithm a lot of times for it to pop off and get the attention of people to where you can help more and more people. Now, I'm throwing this out here, and all it did was repackage that other thing I just showed you. All it did was repackage my other one, organize it, and then give it to teachers to use. So when you're creating resources, make it as simple as possible, make it as organized as possible. Then think of how you can repackage that and add resources to people. Now, here's another way I repackage that same exact resource to add value to teachers. It is under my, where is it? Slides intro help page. Okay. So I took those that essentially Google cheat sheet for teachers, or actually I think I took the one, I made a copy of that one and I adjusted some of the links and made it applicable for students. Boom. The first resource, building those videos, took 50 plus hours. Making the teacher cheat sheet took 3 hours, one Sunday afternoon. Took 3 or 4 hours. Making the student cheat sheet took like less than an hour. Making the parent one took like 30 minutes. So it's like, as you keep building off of your other resources, you can save a ton of time to where you can go in and make more versions of different resources. Catholic Bahamas School, what's up? It's great to see you guys. I think I get the chance to talk to you guys pretty soon. Thank you for the commitment to building and empower those around you. I really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to chatting with your teachers, and I hope I can add them value. And I'm working with some of their teachers. They're an awesome community, or the people I'm emailing seem super incredible. So I took that original, those videos, which were just on YouTube. I'm like, I'll just put them on YouTube. Then I package them on the resource level 1 checklist. Boom, that's a resource. Then I repackaged that into the Google cheat sheet for teachers, students, parents. Then I was like, you know what else would be helpful is if that cheat sheet was even more accessible and you actually had that in like every presentation you do for your students, every assignment you give in Google Slides. So what I did was I repackaged it and put it as a slide in Google Slides. Take your resources. When you're building all these resources, think of how you're cross-promoting and doubling up, because what might be super helpful for one group a certain way could help another group another way. It's honestly, it's that whole Google mentality that is like, you know, if you want like, I'm doing a training on Google Slides and you're like, well, how do I make a copy of something? There's like 5 different ways to make a copy of a document in Google Docs. But whenever you go and find these different avenues where you can add these resources, it's okay to make a different version of what you've already got. You don't have to be like, well, I kind of did that already. No, repackage it and use it for somebody else and then apply it to their situation. So that's a thought process. As you're creating resources, think of how you can use those resources and build and not start from scratch every single time. Okay, a good example of that was, I told you people said they wanted a digital interactive notebook. So I went in and I created a digital interactive notebook. Okay, I've got a weekly version and I've got a full semester. Guess what? Once I made the weekly version, then I'm just selecting the week, copy and pasting, and I'm doing it 18 times. That's now a semester. And all I did was add in like a navigation bar. Okay, so you can think of how to duplicate your resources and make different options you can make different options on what people are getting, because some people might want a weekly one. Some people might want a full semester. It took me an extra 10 minutes to make that other version. So why not go ahead and do that? And why not go ahead and do that so that you can have multiple resources for different people and different avenues, okay? So right here, hey, my dog joined us. That was the door. Sorry about that. So you go in, and the idea for this interactive notebook, I'm sitting here thinking, what is, one, it's okay to put like something describing. So at the beginning of most of my resources, I've got like a short letter like, hey, here's a resource. If you would, please subscribe to my stuff on Instagram or TikTok where I do more tips to help teachers. So it's okay because you're getting, especially I don't feel bad because I'm giving a free resource. It's okay to be like, hey, here's some more free areas I can add you value. And then down here, I have like an upgrade your resources. So it's like, here's all this free stuff where I can add you plenty of value. But then down here, if you really want to upgrade it, these are some other things you can do. You can buy my book. You can do summer PD, which you're in right now. What's up? You can do the honor roll, all that stuff. So it's okay to put that in there as an option. Now, if they don't want that, they're like, oh, but I got to give this to my students, blah, blah, blah. They can hit delete. Bam, it's deleted. No more slide. That wasn't hard. Okay, so like if people cry about it, guess what? Don't be mad about the free resource that I just gave you. So Chilio, it's Coolio, not Chilio. Coolio's pretty Chilio though, okay? Coolio is by far one of the most underrated rappers in the rap game. Am I right, guys? Am I wrong? Am I right? In the chat, who is your favorite musician from the 90s? Tell me in the chat. I would love to hear it, okay? So the idea with this notebook is that it's essentially an organization tool for teachers to kind of lay out the week for students and then assign it in classroom and make a copy for every single student. So as I'm creating this resource, that is my mindset. That is what I'm thinking as I'm going in and creating this resource. I'm thinking, how can I make this where a teacher can go in, edit a couple things or change a couple things or fill in a couple things, and then they can assign it for their students so that it's like the easiest way for them to do it. So a lot of my resources may be a little generic. So like the math stuff, like that's for math teachers. The rest of this stuff, I'm like, how can they apply this to multiple like subject areas or grade levels? Any grade level, I would say, I mean, even as early as kindergarten could use it because you could give this to parents and show them how their week's going to be laid out. Then look, I made that resource earlier. Guess what? I'm going to put it in this too. Important links, Google Help videos, copy, paste, put it in here. Took me a few minutes. I've got that resource, which if you look at the the videos and took me hours to do. Now I've already got it. I'm repackaging it inside of another resource. So always think about how they can overlap. Then I made this little attendance map because we had a lot of people that were like, my students are working virtually. How can they do this? I'm thinking through, well, what would be an easy way for students to clock how they're working and when they're working and put it on there. So I put this in here. Guess what? If a teacher doesn't want it, you delete it. Now, here's the cool thing. If you're like, oh no, you deleted it. When you build these, especially in Google Slides, when you're building these resources and these templates and these master slides, actually, I think they call it Theme Builder now. When you're in Theme Builder and you're building all these slides, you're adding to your repertoire of it. So like this right here, if I click this drop down, it's going to have all of these templates from a lot of these aren't in this. They're from different resources I've made that now overlap into this theme. Okay. They would go in, they could put the week number. They put the week at a glance. I wanted them to be able to say this for their students. And then they have it to where they can list out stuff. They can leave it blank for students to fill in. And also, whenever you're making these resources, think through like, okay, if I give this to a teacher and then a teacher assigns it to students, what is going to get lost in translation? And I made these boxes to where you can click them. You can click, like I've got like an invisible box over this. And then when you do something on the to-do list, you can click this and it fills in the box. I thought, you know what? There's a good chance this is not going to be translated to students from the teachers I'm giving this to. So what I did was I put instructions with a link to a video tutorial over here on the left explaining how they can fill in the checklist. So students now teachers don't have to explain it to their students. I'm bypassing that and I'm doing it to where they can just go in and be like, okay, I can read this and I know what I'm doing with this resource. And then I do Monday through Friday. And then I end the week. I tossed in a Cornell Notes and a blank notes page. Like I wasn't even planning on doing a Cornell Notes page. And I was like, you know what? Let me look up what a template looks like for that because I'd never used Cornell Notes in my life as a student or teacher. And so I went in and made that resource. This one took me, this honestly didn't take that long. I think I made this little theme in like 20 minutes. So now I've got that. I can add that to anything I want. It's in my repertoire. Big wins from the week. This is a way for the students to reflect. Now, I started with this. This was the first. This took a while. For real. I actually started with the semester one. It took a long time because I made like a navigation bar and all this stuff. Now, this took a while to make. However, then whenever I decided, you know what, I want to make another journal, guess what? I've already got the background templates. I've got the intro pages. I've got the help slides. I've got all that stuff. All I did was make a copy of that template. And then I went in and made, let's see, what's one that I made a copy of? Let's see, you could do the daily student reflection journal. I was like, that's a cool journal. What's a journal teachers could do at the beginning of any class to where they could go in and they could build a copy of this, okay? So we go in, hit make a copy. I made a copy of that other one. I rolled in and then I went and made, I was able to make this journal just by adding different things into that. So I'm waiting on it to load up. Load up. Load up. While that's loading, in the chat. Oh, wow. Am I glitching? Are we better? Okay, I'm better. Sorry, it was loading up, so it was taking a hot minute. Now, did I have to make this slide again? No, because when I made a copy, that was already there. I think I adjusted a little bit, but not much. Boom, important links. Guess what? Already made that. Copy's in there. Made that. Copy in there. Navigation. I'd made it in the previous one for the full semester. Boom, it's in here as well. They can click and it jumps to whatever slide they want. Then I went in, made the page, and I went in and created this. And I was able to copy paste, put all this stuff in there, and I made a daily student reflection journal. Think through the process of what I've already created and how can I go in and use this resource as another like as a basis for another resource. Okay, so that's how it went from all that to this one to another one. And then this is kind of like this is my big one. So I was already making these like quote of the day bell ringers where people could just go grab a YouTube video, toss it in Google Classroom, and then just assign it for their students to create discussion and all this stuff. And I made like all these videos, took a ton of time and all this, whatever, who cares? Blah, 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 Tyler. So I made all these videos. And then I thought to myself, I've already got kind of a template for the Notebook. Great movie, by the way. Have anybody ever seen The Notebook? So I've got my template for my digital interactive notebook. I've got all these bell ringers. I bet I can make another resource. So I made a quote of the day template, like a notebook for a full semester where people could have students just go into this for their bell ringers every single day. Think through how you can adapt and reuse and do all of these resources that you're creating. Think through, how can I go in? How can I take what I've already done and spend time on? And how can I package that to help either students or teachers? So it's loading up. While it's loading up, what is the next resource you want to make, either for yourself or for other educators? What is the next resource you want to make? Okay, sweet. Now, if you'll notice right here, I took this one step further. In that last video, I was like, I put the instructions over here on the side. I've got that in here as well. But then I thought, I have a teacher that wants to use this, and then they have to re-explain my mindset for creating this. So I just went in and made a video that teachers can show students, telling them exactly how to use this notebook. So here's a YouTube video that they can just hand to their students on how to do this. Again, made the copy, didn't start from scratch, used the notebook, adjusted a little bit of my navigation bar right here. See, it's clicking, loading up. Then I made like a little completion checklist right here. Then what I did was I made a little template and I went in and imported the videos that I already had on YouTube. I already had this list on my bell ringer side of my website. Then I'm just really attaching them into a notebook. This took a few hours one Sunday afternoon. Actually, it took more than a few hours. It took a little while to do this. So I'm taking all these videos I spent a lot of time on. I've taken the notebook I spent a lot of time on, overlapping them and making another resource. It's quote of the day. So I've got a different video every day where students can go in and they can do this notebook. That's the idea behind some of this stuff. Think through, how can I reuse resources that I've already got? Okay, so for sake of time, I'm going to go through and I'm going to kind of rapid fire some of these things. So if you want to go back and find these, you can. They're at tarveracademy.com/resources. If you want to, hey, what's up? Saw somebody in the chat. How you doing? If you want the walkthroughs and stuff, have your school like reimburse you and you join the Tarver Academy Honor Roll. That's what I recommend. Okay, but it's up to you. Follow your heart. Okay, so real quick, if you want to go to tarveracademy.com/resources. We've already talked about those. Now I'm going to walk through these in case these can help you either as a starting point for what you're creating, or maybe they just help you in your class. Okay. Here's some lesson plans. I've got some basic ones, and then we're going to actually build this one, this high school lesson plan. We're building that at the end of these, like the last session after Nadine's done. I'm going to build this with you in Canva and then in Google Slides. Quote of the day, bell ringers. That's the bell ringer. And then here it is in the template built into the notebook, combination of the bell ringers and the notebook. You've got in the movie. I wrote you every day for a year. In the chat, what is your favorite line from the notebook? I'd love to know. Then I made some team meeting agenda notes. That's to help you move as a team, like getting forward. Daily student reflection journal, so your students can reflect on the day, what they want to accomplish, what they're thankful for. I think that one's a super good resource. Getting to know you form. This is a Google form you can give your students either at open house or the first day of school, so you can get their parents' email addresses, their parents' names, phone numbers, and then learn a little bit about your students. Curriculum map, this so you can plan out your year. It's in a Google Sheet. Classroom discipline form. This is how you can record discipline for your class. I actually created this while I was a principal, and all my teachers used it, and I was able to see it. And then I created something, if you're with me on the Autocrat training, how to generate an automated email from when somebody fills out a form. That's Autocrat, and I'm doing a training on that this summer. Join the honor roll if you want. Sorry, now I am pitching. Now I need, okay, I'll chill. I'm sorry. Stop pitching your honor roll. Okay, sorry. Student reported discipline. That's if you want the students to report their own discipline. That's an adaptation of something I used in my class via paper in a Google form. Positive student action form. That's where students can go in and you go in and you record when students do stuff well in your class to praise them for positive actions. Daily student check-in. It's so students have a safe place to, one, check in for your class, whether they're virtual or in person, but also let you know if they're not feeling well that day, so you can kind of be aware without them having to say it in front of other students. Sometimes students feel more comfortable saying it in like a Google form or chat or anonymous location. Certified Google student checklist. This is like a back to school checklist of things that you can walk through with your students so they know how to use. So like I've linked to different things, and it's just like step by step. Hey, walk through this. About our class Google slide. This is a back to school activity you can do. And here's the cool thing. This one I love. I don't have a lot of time, but when you click on it, it's something you can assign to your students, but also it's got little tutorials in the walkthrough. So if your students don't know how to do it, they can click the video, watch the video, and then go in and do the thing. And then you can get to learn your students and your class. This we talked about is the intro slides help page. This is a Google, this one, and this one are Google Forms that adapt based on how students are doing on a test or exam or review. So that's super helpful if you want the Google Forms to adapt and differentiate based on how students are doing. And I've got walkthroughs in there explaining how to set that up. This is a walkthrough form for administrators. This is in a course evaluation for you and your classes, so students can tell you how they feel about the class and what you can improve. That can be hard to read, but important. Summer PD notes. If you're in the summer PD, hopefully you're using this template to make notes and take notes and use these resources. This is a classroom resource hub. This is essentially where you can build out links that help your students know how to get to different things, or parents or whoever get to different things for your class and resources. Cornell Notes, that's a Cornell Notes template. This is a walkthrough. If you're creating educational video, a lot of the research studies I'm looking at, these are the ways that they recommend you lay out an educational video so you can fill it out and then record a video for your students. Math problem of the day is bell ringers, but for math. These are Washington, D.C. I did like a little vlog where I'm walking around and I do fun facts about different Washington monuments, and including the Washington Monument. This email templates where you can automate, or you can have automatic templates for discipline or truancy or, zeros on assignments. These are templates for that you can import into your Google or in your Gmail. This is how to create, is a classroom app template to create a classroom app, which we did in our Canva tutorial. And then here is the resource spreadsheet. And then this is a series I did, kind of like Bill Nye, but a lot not as good. And it's a resource to help your students be successful in the classroom and in remote learning. So there we go. That's a quick run through. That's my session. I'm going to stop talking because, man, that's a lot of Tyler to listen to. And we're going to hear someone much more lovely and talented. We're going to listen to Nadine Gilkison, and she is fantastic. And I would really appreciate if you went in and found her on social media. You need to follow her because she gives a ton of resources for teachers. And so I highly recommend you go follow her, check her out, and get some of the resources from her. She's about to show you some stuff on how to create meaningful resources. And then after she's done, we're actually going to walk through creating that lesson plan, starting with Canva and rolling into Google Slides. So thank you guys for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed today's sessions. Hope you learned something. Hope you got something out of the very least, whether you're going to create resources for free or for sale. I hope that you got an idea of what that entails and some thoughts to make more resources even better for other educators. Thank you guys so much. Y'all be good, and I'll see you here in a little bit.